Empire's latest issue dives deep into the creative minds behind Skeleton Crew, revealing insights from showrunner John Watts and directors David Lowery, Jake Schreier, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Lee Isaac Chung. They discuss everything from episode origins to their personal Star Wars inspirations. Howard highlighted the advanced production techniques inherited from The Mandalorian, particularly the immersive radio play approach, where actors recorded voices in advance that helped the director shape the episodes with a clear tonal vision. Lowery's episode features hand puppets, blending classic effects with modern tech, a mix he found magical. Each director shared their favorite Star Wars creatures, with Howard showing fondness for droids and teasing a special creature in her episode. Lowery recalled prune face action figures from his childhood, and Schreier admitted to being a nostalgic Ewok fan. John Watts wrapped up the interview by explaining how Skeleton Crew was inspired by a simple concept: kids unknowingly lost in the Star Wars galaxy trying to find their way home. The directors even imagined which other filmmakers they'd love to see tackle Star Wars, sparking visions of Spielberg and Coppola-style epics. I mean, there's so much to unpack in that. We've only got about 2.5 minutes, but Pete, I love the focus in this story and where this series seems to be heading, which we saw. It feels like early Mandalorian, where we heard about the Boba Fett rifle, the long, I forget what it's called. We see, the Kawaki and monkey lizards in that first trailer. It's pulling in some of those rememberals. It's pulling in some of those, hey, that thing is a thing, but it's things like puppets and it's things like action figures that have a meaning and droids. This seems like another group of folks who grew up loving Star Wars, getting the chance to make Star Wars. And I think that's where we get our best stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, it's funny because if it is aimed at kids, which we obviously have that inkling, and we talked a little bit about it on the last couple of weeks of the show. My kids, your kids, they're not going to recognize the teak from Ewoks. They're not going to recognize the prune face action figure or whichever, droid surprise that may be sitting in there. But done right, and it's funny because we've talked about this before. I think Star Wars television has done both extremely well and extremely not so great when it comes to bringing characters that have a history to life. I think bringing Ahsoka in, to those of us that have been Clone Wars fans and Ahsoka fans for forever, was fantastic, because the people who didn't know Ahsoka just knew her as, hey, she's that cool new Jedi person. A lot of the Mandalorian stuff was pretty deep, felt sort of Silmarillion kind of thing for Tolkien fans. So drop them in there with, and I'm encouraged by it being Bryce Dallas Howard back at this, because she gets it. She knows how to tell the stories. But I'm encouraged that, just like you said, and I think that's a really good point, is it's Star Wars fans making Star Wars, and making it in that sort of wondrous world, right? Versus Leslie Headland, who got Star Wars, man. She understood Star Wars. She knew the lore. She knew the books. She knew all the deep, deep stuff, but it was a heavy topic. This is Star Wars in that fun place, right? That as Eric is saying there on the screen about, for kids, being young at heart and being a kid at heart, that's what Star Wars needs too, right? Because it's going to be followed by Andor in April-ish, right? Which is going to be some heavy stuff. So let's get people who love Star Wars and bring the fun, right? I think
and let's look at, we talk about Goonies all the time because we're Gen Xers and we grew up with things like Goonies and E.T., and that's what this has been pitched as, an Amblin-style kids adventure, whatever. But you dial that up to a little bit more modern times. Look at what Stranger Things has done. Stranger Things started out with young kid. That cast is all grown now because we're still waiting for that eventual, final season 5 or whatever it is. But there's still room for that. And those are the things that still click because it's kids, it's fun, it's adventure filled, and there's a little bit of danger. There's a little bit of a jump scare, but it's not so heavy that we have to take it so seriously. We get to just enjoy Star Wars. So